Hi, everybody. My name is Julia Ramirez, and today I want to start off with a BAM. And I want to tell you that policing in America isn't perfect. Now that I got your attention, whether you're pro police or pro reform, we all know that this topic has been the center of a lot of things. And we also know that, for the lack of a better word, a lot of outcomes in policing lately have been undesirable. Um, like I said, this topic has been at the forefront of campaigns, dinner tables, rallies and marches, and mines. Personally, I'm a Native American woman. I'm also Mexican, obviously a woman of color. I have had multiple encounters, whether it be with myself or with people that I'm with, encounters with the police. I also have family members who serve in law enforcement. I am also an active political member in my community, and I try and help along and explain to people reform. So this is why it's kind of near and dear to my heart. And the areas I want to focus on today are what problems there are in policing, what we mean when we say reform, and how is this going to benefit our communities? I mean, after all, this is what it's all about. So first, we're going to talk about what's wrong with policing. And I'm only going to focus on two topics today. The first one being the treatment of people of color, specifically Black people here in America. And for this, I'm going to turn to a neuroscience journal out of Harvard, the University of Louisville, and UC Boulder. This journal tells us that there was a faster response time to shooting an armed Black person rather than an armed white person, and that there are faster responses to shooting an unarmed Black person versus an unarmed white person. And in both cases, this resulted in the Black person being shot first. This shows complicit bias and really how, unfortunately, a lot of us and a lot of people have a bias against Black people versus white people, and this is a scientific study. This study also shows a greater stimulus in the visual cortex when you see an unarmed Black person versus when you see an armed white person. So this study is pretty much telling us that people feel greater danger in their visual cortex when they see an unarmed Black man versus an armed white man. And this, again, comes into contact with the whole treatment of people of color, specifically Black people, versus the treatment of white people. The next largest thing we want to talk about is training in the criminal justice system. So the Criminal Justice Reform League said that on average, police officers only have 650 hours of training. This seems like a large number to a lot of us, but when we take into consideration that jobs like plumbing, you need 3,500 hours to certify in. So this is an alarming difference, and for a lot of organizations, it is an area that they want to really help out officers and set them up for the best possible job that they can do. So these two issues may really seem like a big hurdle, and that leads into, how do we do it? What do we say when we mean reform? So there are four main areas that most organizations, including the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, are really focusing on when they say reform. So the first one is training. Training in, like I said, we only have on average 650 hours. And when we say training, we mean things like complicit bias training, de-escalation training, training with an emphasis on legal knowledge, and more field training for officers. This has been a compilation of both reform organizations and police officers themselves who really want to see and be able to have more training for themselves so they feel more and better prepared for their job. Second, we have a better collection of data that a lot of organizations want. That means that we have more data collected on things like if there is an officer involved shooting, if there are misconduct allegations and stuff like that. Third, we have the use of special prosecutors that handle misconduct and allegations brought against police officers. So they don't have their own people investigating them. It's a special group of prosecutors who do that. The fourth area that they talk about is higher pay and higher standards for police officers. This one is coming about because on average, 82% of officers believe that they are not paid enough to do their job. And these are the four areas that most organizations talk about when they mean reform. So ultimately, how will this work? Will it work? And how is it going to benefit our officers and community? Well, the ACLU and reform organizations and police officer unions got together, and with these four reform ideas, they believe that this will lead to not only a greater respect for the job, but a greater connection from the police officers to the communities, a knowledge of our laws and the areas that they're going to work in, the people that they work with, and the jurisdiction that they are working with. Officers will be trained and paid more, and on top of that, we hope that they feel more connected to their community in general. All of these things, like I said, have come about because in the past few years, many people feel like policing isn't perfect. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I really hope you take the time to think about police reform and how it can better our lives. Have a great day. Thank you so much.